Hi, my name is Meikyu Megan Ye, and I am here to present my digital storytelling, How I Am an ABC, American-Born Chinese. Part 1, Immigration. My parents are from Fujian, China. They used to live in a city called Fuzhou. The countryside region of Fujian was very poor, therefore my grandparents decided to immigrate to Hong Kong for a better living opportunity. However, it was difficult to raise a family there in Hong Kong since the apartments were really small, and it was also really hard to find jobs. Hong Kong is known for cargoing. My paternal grandfather, Ye Ye, worked on a ship to export goods. One day in 1984, he decided to make a better living for our family, so he risked himself by immigrating to the United States for a better opportunity. He was on a cargo ship for weeks and months, and one day he had finally made it to New York City, New York. Ye Ye worked at multiple restaurants as a dishwasher, and one day he was promoted as a chef in one of the restaurants. As he earned money, he sent some money back to China from my grandma, my dad, and my uncle. In 1986, President Ronald Reagan signed the Immigration Reform and Control Act, which granted 3 million illegal immigrants green cards. Fortunately, this gave amnesty for my grandfather to stay in the U.S., as well as sending my grandma to the States. Due to limited green cards, my dad and my uncle were still in Hong Kong, and they were being cared by my great-grandmother. My grandma and my grandpa continued to work in the States to strive for their dream of the American dream. And a year afterward, they had another child, my Uncle Tony. This was a huge deal because it allowed them to start a family in the United States, which means that my father and my uncle can come to the United States. They also received benefits from the government such as reduced taxes, receiving maternity care, and food stamp. Fast forward, my parents met in 1994 in the US and married in 1995. Then they had their first child, me, in 1997. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. Part 2. Representing the Other. I had always identified myself as American because I was born in the United States, which also means I hold the US citizenship. However, I noticed that I was classified as other when I looked different from other students in my school. I am one of the very few students with yellow skin and black hair. I get made fun of for looking differently. People here mock my language by saying words like Ching Chong, which aren't even Chinese language. I was also placed in ESOL class, ESOL, which stands for English as a Second or Foreign Language. I was also represented as the other from my Chinese culture because I was not able to comprehend, read, or write in Chinese. Part 3. My Migration. My parents heard from my aunt that Maryland has a great education. I used to live in a violent and hostile community in Brooklyn. My parents decided to move from New York to Maryland for me and my siblings to have better opportunity in 2007. Afterward, in 2008, I started Chinese school at Hope Chinese School, 希望中文学校. I remember those times when my parents had to drive us an hour in order for us to go to only a 3-hour Chinese session. Part 4. Representing my culture. My parents had always reminded us to never lose our Chinese culture identity. They had taken us to China where we get to learn about the Chinese history. This is a picture of me when I was in the Great Wall of China. Also, every year we celebrate the Lunar New Year, which is one of my favorite holidays. Lunar New Year is a festival that celebrates the beginning of New Year in a traditional lunar calendar. This is one of the most important holidays because it is about family. Before the start of Lunar New Year, we would have a family reunion where we'd eat many different delicious Chinese foods. There would also be decorations such as hanging lanterns. Also, there would be lion dances in the streets, along with firecrackers, And adults, the best part is that adults get to hand red envelopes, aka money, to the kids. I was also represented as my Chinese culture by learning Chinese. I am able to read and write in Chinese that my teachers had taught me when I was in Chinese school. I also get to balance my language by speaking only Chinese at home and only English at school. I also celebrated my American culture identity by celebrating the holidays that many of us celebrate in the States, such as Christmas, Thanksgiving, and 4th of July. Part 5. The Power of Self and Representation. I am proud to say that I can speak in 3 different dialects: Mandarin, Cantonese, and Fujianese. For example, one time I was able to be a translator at a dentist's clinic. One time there was this old man who came in to seek dental care, but he had trouble communicating in English. I happened to be there and overhear the conversation, and I stepped in to be the translator. That was the first time I had ever translated in my life. And at that time, it felt really nice to be able to help others. Currently, I work at the hospital, and occasionally there are some Chinese patients that had language barrier speaking English, so I always try to help out by being the translator at the hospital. In the future, I hope to work in the healthcare, where I could use my ability of speaking Chinese and being able to have patients open up to me because we share this common language, and therefore they can then rely on me. In St. Mary's College, I'm proud to be part of the APAC, Asian Pacific Islander American Club, where we get to share different Asian cultures on campus. A legacy that I embarked on this campus is the annual Lunar New Year celebration. This is where the students, faculty, and staff get to learn how to make dumplings. They also had the opportunity to eat the dumpling and other Asian snacks. Afterward, we get to enjoy our time together by watching Chinese folklore dances, singing karaoke, and playing a fun Chinese game. This here is my other family that I have on campus, and that one of the ones that I really cherish. And therefore, this is my story, and how I am proud to represent as an ABC, American-born Chinese.